Good evening and thank you for joining us. The province's Solicitor General is asking the Ontario Civilian Police Commission to investigate the Chief, Deputy Chief and the administration of the Thunder Bay Police Service. Police Service Board member Georgianne Morisseau and Police Association President Colin Woods are applauding the move. Even Chief Sylvie Hoth and Police Board Chair Kristen Oliver insist they welcome the probe, but the eventual results are unlikely to leave everyone satisfied. Alex Flood has the details.
Among those who are relieved about the OCPC probe into the police service's leadership is Colin Woods. The Police Association president says their long list of concerns are headlined by a lack of transparency from the service and the mistreatment of their members. Woods says officers don't feel confident voicing their concerns without consequence, but adds he's proud of their hard work despite these unresolved issues.
They're very professional in what they do. They're not letting what's happening inside the building spill out, affecting their job and how we serve the public. But it is, I believe we owe it to the public to let them know what is happening.
Police board member Georgianne Morisseau is echoing these same concerns. She feels the rank and file officers aren't being heard, and she's hopeful that significant change can come from the OCPC investigation.
And that this is not about me. This is about it's much bigger than that. And we have members of the service who can't speak up without fear of their life and their livelihood, right? And so again, it goes back to my duty as a board member and somebody who's accountable.
On the other side, Police Board Chair Kristen Oliver says the board is also welcoming of the OCPC's involvement. While Oliver couldn't comment on Morisseau's calls for a leadership change at the police force, she's hopeful the investigation will be a quick one.
Well, ideally, we hope that this doesn't drag on very long, that there's certainly a lot of information that's been provided, and we seriously think that this shouldn't take a long period. We are looking forward to a fulsome investigation, and the outcome of that will certainly provide the answers that we need.
Police Chief Sylvie Hoth released her own statement Tuesday afternoon, saying she welcomes the call for a thorough investigation and says the leadership team will fully cooperate. She notes that there are several issues that need a proper examination by the OCPC. Alex Flood, TBT News.
The Northwest Region OPP will monitor a massive convoy of transports when it arrives in Kenora tonight and Thunder Bay tomorrow to ensure the protest remains peaceful. The so-called Freedom Convoy is made up of truckers opposed to the COVID-19 vaccine mandate at the border for their industry. Organizers say the transports and other vehicles stretched out for 70 kilometers when they left Regina this morning. An OPP spokesperson says they'll get a more accurate count when the convoy arrives at the Ontario border. Officers will be positioned along the route to provide traffic control as needed, but there will not be a police escort. The convoy is scheduled to arrive in Kenora at 7 o'clock this evening and in Thunder Bay by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, before heading out toward Ottawa on Thursday morning. A former Kenora OPP officer has pled guilty to sexually abusing 2 children under the age of 12 while staying at a resort on the Bois Forte Indian Reservation in Minnesota back in 2018. 32-year-old Brady John Hillis entered the guilty plea last week to a Minneapolis court. The victims, who identify as Indigenous, were also guests of the resort at the time. Hillis was on paid suspension from the OPP prior to his guilty plea, but resigned last week. A sentencing hearing will be held at a later date. COVID-19 numbers at the Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Centre are now slightly lower than they were yesterday, and one outbreak inside the facility in the adult mental health wing is now over. There are 2 remaining COVID outbreaks at the hospital. There are 3 fewer COVID-19 patients being treated at the Regional Health Sciences Centre than there were on Monday, that number falling from 44 to 41. 7 of those patients are in the ICU, that's down from 10. The hospital's overall occupancy rate is nearly 102%. The occupancy rate in intensive care has dropped below 91%. On the vaccine front, more than 9,200 shots were administered last week across the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. The vast majority, more than 7,600, were booster shots. 88% of people aged 5 and up in the district have at least one dose, and nearly 82% have received at least 2 shots. The TBDHU no longer reports COVID-19 case counts on Tuesdays. The Northwestern Health Unit, however, now has 274 active cases, up from 235 on Monday. The 7-day testing positivity rate has risen to 25%. There are 5 COVID patients in hospitals that are located within the NWHU's catchment area. None of those patients are in the ICU. There are questions about the province's COVID-19 reporting for schools. Yesterday, Ontario began reporting absences, but not COVID cases. Kids can be away for a variety of reasons. Colin DeMello takes a deeper dive into the numbers.
The state of COVID-19 inside classrooms is blurry at best. The Ontario government began reporting school absence data yesterday, and already some of it seems to be skewed.
The fact is, those numbers do not paint the entire picture. They are about absences from the school. We've had some examples where we'd look and an absence rate was 55%. We'd follow up with the school to find out that we have one known COVID case in the school.
The information is compiled every day by school principals, who will mark every single absence no matter the reason. But the province isn't providing any context to those numbers.
Are people on vacation? Are people attending appointments on a certain day? Is there a holy day? There's a whole bunch of reasons.
Take school closures, for example. On Friday, the province had reported 16 schools in Ontario were shut down due to COVID-19 related operational issues. On Monday, however, that number dropped to 11 school closures. But the province hasn't explained exactly what happened over the weekend to allow some of those schools to reopen once again. Parents are mixed on how much information they need to make an informed decision.
They should be more transparent about the information they're giving.
It doesn't influence us because we have to follow the rules. And if school is in, it's in. And if it's not, it's not.
Critics of the government say, however, the data should be easy to decode.
I don't know how parents are supposed to decipher the information that came out yesterday. I know it's going to cause a great deal of concern, ongoing anxiety.
And in the absence of information from the government, some school boards say they are looking to clarify the data on their own.
And we're looking at how we can present that information to give a little bit more accurate snapshot of the actual absences at an individual schools.
The government says with rampant spread of Omicron and limited PCR testing, absences will give parents a window into what's happening inside schools.
Thunder Bay Police have charged a 20-year-old Brampton man in connection with an investigation into human trafficking. He was arrested without incident yesterday afternoon during a traffic stop in the area of the Harbour Expressway in Balmoral Street and charged with 18 offenses, including human trafficking, kidnapping, forcible confinement, and sexual assault. The man faces several firearms charges as well. He's also believed to be connected to an ongoing investigation in the GTA. 3 other people, including a local man who were inside the vehicle at the time, were also arrested on weapons charges. Thunder Bay City Council made a pair of decisions last night that will have significant impacts on 2 local landmarks, the Centennial Conservatory and Vickers Park. Vasilios Bellos has the details.
Another step was taken towards upgrading the Centennial Botanical Conservatory. A nearly $5 million contract was awarded by Council to MBuild's NWO to replace the aging greenhouses and construct a new annex building attached to the conservatory. Work on the project is expected to begin in June of this year. Councillor Shelby Chung says she has been in support of the project since coming on to council, knowing how much it means to Thunder Bay.
To come this far, being a part of all the reports and public consultation and citizen satisfaction surveys, to the Canada 150 funding that we applied for, this is, I think this is very much needed in the community right now. We needed a win.
The conservatory upgrades are expected to cost over $7 million when all is said and done, with $2 million funded from the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund. Councillor Aldo Roberto is very supportive of the project, but believes timing has caused problems in terms of final costs.
We have all these projects and we delay them and we delay them and we delay them. Yeah, we got $2 million, but the whole thing went up $2 million, maybe $3 million. If we had moved initially, this would have been done, would have saved our money, we've been on time, and it wouldn't have cost us $2 million more. We got the grant, thank God. So delaying projects sometimes is not to our benefit.
Also approved by council was designating Vickers Park as a heritage site. This means future projects focusing on its relevance to Thunder Bay's past and new signage recognizing its importance. The park has an extensive history in the area dating back to the early 20th century. Councillor Kristen Oliver encouraged everyone to learn more about the history of Vickers Park to better understand how important it is to Thunder Bay.
Read the write-up about Vickers Park. It's pretty substantial. And I think it's really important. It speaks sort of to the volume of how this park has played a significance in this community for a long, long time. And it almost seems sort of interesting to me that it's taken this long for it to get the designation.
Vickers Park was established because of a 1902 donation from Catherine Vickers, who wanted to remember her late husband, John Vickers. Vasilios Bellows, TVT News.
Council also heard from the president of Lakehead University last night about plans to bring a highly requested veterinary education program to LU. Lakehead's program is being created in partnership with the University of Guelph, which means students would split study time between the two schools. Provincial approvals are still required, but LU President Moira McPherson says the kickoff could come quite soon. She told councillors about the importance of the collaboration and when she hopes students can begin the program.
Developed by both teams at both universities, and right now we're early in the stages of advocacy, and what we'd really like is to target fall 2024 for the first cohort at Lakehead University.
Many councillors expressed support for LU's plan given the vet shortage in the region. The program would emphasize rural and northern community practice with an opportunity for placements in the north. Meanwhile, Lakehead officials are defending their plans to bring university students back for in-person learning on January 31st. This comes in response to a petition initiated by the LU Student Union calling for a continuation of virtual learning until February 28th. The petition on change.org already has more than 2,000 signatures. It says many students are worried about returning to campus while the Omicron variant is spreading. LU officials have issued a statement saying their COVID-19 transition committee sought advice from government and public health authorities when it recommended postponing in-person classes for 1 week until the 31st. And if public health or the province advises differently, LU will address potential changes. But for now, they point out that Lakehead has a mandatory vaccination policy and other COVID protocols in place. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit says no charges will be laid against a Fort Frances OPP officer after a woman suffered a broken collarbone during an arrest last year. In the early morning hours of September 27th, 2 women were accused of trespassing on the driveway of a home on Walker Avenue. One of the women refused to surrender and the officer took her to the ground and handcuffed her. The SIU director found no reasonable grounds to believe the officer committed a criminal offense and the file has been closed. There are just 3 more days until the Scotties Tournament of Hearts gets underway at Fort William Gardens. And even though there can't be fans at round-robin games, an area snowshoe artist has found a unique way to show support for all of the curlers coming into the city. Jessica Clement has the story.
The football field at St. Patrick High School is one of 3 locations around the city that now feature the Scotties Tournament of Hearts logo. Despite the freezing cold during the last few days, Grabber snowshoe artist Kim Asmussen and a few friends have been creating these snow art designs to welcome Canada's top women's curlers as they fly into Thunder Bay. Logos have also been created at Fort William Stadium and at St. Ignatius in hopes of giving the curlers a better chance of seeing them out the airplane windows.
We thought maybe it'd be nice just to have a logo up here. So we got thinking, where can we do it? We thought maybe the airport, but we thought that might be a little too hard. So we thought do one here at Fort William Stadium, the Legion track. We did one at St. Pat's, so that hopefully then the curlers come in, they'll be able to see it as long as it hasn't snowed out.
Asmussen isn't new to creating snowshoe art and has been creating masterpieces in his hometown of Scrabber for the past couple of years. He says the Scotties logo wasn't too complicated to design, and after he came up with the measurements and outlined it, it took him and his team only a couple of hours to pack in the drawings at each site.
So basically it's 2 circles, and then The trick is to try and hide where the path is where we walked in. So you have to make sure the heart is in part of the path. And from there, it's just a couple of circles and lines.
Now that the artworks are complete, Osmondson is hoping there won't be too much snow on Wednesday to cover up their creations. Jessica Clement, TVT News.
Well, that's absolutely awesome, and what a fantastic greeting for those curlers coming into the city. Fiona, you have to admire his dedication given the temperatures that we're currently experiencing.
He looked so cold out there. I have to feel for him.